Hello and welcome to Tech Deals. Are you looking for a premium tower air cooler similar to the Noctua NH-U12A, which is a wonderful cooler, but you want something that fits better within your case? It's a little shorter, it's a little narrower, and not quite as deep. It does not block your RAM slots, does not block the top graphics card slot, does not overhang the shroud and other components of your motherboard, but still brings you the same sort of quality and performance of the Noctua NH-U12A. You've come to the right place. Today's video is sponsored by Recoverit Data Recovery. This is a free tool that you can download to recover all kinds of data. Files simply deleted, files in your trash, formatted drives, partitions destroyed, and complete device recovery. For example, let's say you accidentally format an SD card that has important pictures or video that you just filmed. Not to worry, this software will take care of it. No matter what you lost, just recover it. Graphics, documents, video, other files, emails, audio, and more. High success rate recovery on any kind of device. Download Recoverit Free Edition using the link in the video description below to try it out on your own computer, hard drives, external devices, a recycle bin, or even a completely crashed computer. Recoverit is completely free to use for the first 100 megabytes of data, and as you can see here, you can select all your drives and folders for where your lost data may be and restore from there. If you need more than 100 megabytes of data recovery, I recommend Recoverit Ultimate. For $69, you get a lifetime license and updates for one PC and bootable media. If your computer will not boot or you have important data on your C drive, shut it down and restore your data from bootable media to make sure that it's not overwritten by Windows. And now, back to the video. This is a Noctua NH-U12A 120mm, instead of 140mm, 120mm tower cooler. It does a very good job. It does not, just to give you a heads up, cool as well as this does. It can't. It has smaller fans. It has less total surface area. Of course, it's not going to cool quite as well, but it's close. And in this video, I'm going to show you several bits of footage, both noise and temperature, comparing this cooler to the stock cooler that the CPU under this normally comes with. You can see it in front of me. This is my Ryzen 9 3900X test bench, and this is the Wraith Prism RGB cooler that comes with the Ryzen 7 and Ryzen 9 3rd generation CPUs. It does a good job and it runs the chip well, but it has two faults. Number one, it's loud, and number two, under full load, it gets quite warm. This solves both problems. More so on the noise than the temperature. It is cooler running, but not by a huge amount. But the primary reason for that is the fans are a lot slower. The maximum fan speed on the Noctua NH-U12A is 2000 RPM. The max fan speed on the Wraith Prism is 3000 RPM. And this fan at 3000 RPM is loud, very loud. I'm going to show you that footage in a minute. Now, I'm not just doing stress testing here. I've also got a game benchmark where I show both the noise of this in a game and I show you the real-time footage on the screen with the temperature in a game as opposed to just 8064 full stress test. So all that's coming up in just a minute. If you currently have a Ryzen 7 or Ryzen 9 with one of these Wraith Prisms and the noise is bothering you, if you don't mind the price, this is a nice option. Speaking of price, ouch. Oh, Lord, Noctua, I love you. I love you guys. You guys are great. You make wonderful coolers. To anybody watching this, absolute truth from me to you. These are some of the highest quality coolers with polished bottoms and ease of installation, awesome mounting kits. The fans are very high quality. The metal is very high quality. There's no burrs, there's no sharp edges. When you take it out of the kit, everything is very nice and well put together. Noctua builds excellent quality stuff. They just charge an arm and a leg for it. This, being one of the best tower coolers on the market, fair enough, $90. I understand the $90 price point of this. It's large, it's one of the best coolers, it's wonderful, it does its job. This, by the way, I didn't mention earlier, this is my i9 9900K test bench, 5 gigahertz fixed on all the cores, no issue whatsoever. You've seen many game benchmarks on my channel, runs cool and quiet in the 60s and 70s, way below the CPU's maximum temperature using this Noctua NH-U12A. All of my 9900K benchmarks have been done with this cooler. Over here, yeah, $100. The U12A is $10 more than this beast. Why? Noctua was just slowly working their prices up, I suppose. In fact, the new black version of this, you can now get this thing in black. The U12A is not in black yet. It will be at some point here in the future. But the NH-U12A is now available in black, and it's also $100, at least in the United States. So they raised the price by $10 there when they came out with the black version. And frankly, if you're buying this and you're building all this and you want black, then $10 really isn't the end of the world. I would be much, much, much happier if this were $60, maybe $70. It would be $20 or $30 less expensive than this. And for its cooling performance and its size, I think that would be a fair price. But it's really well built and it's ridiculously easy to install. On the AMD platform, you simply take off the plastic clips provided with the motherboard. You retain the backplate. There are 2 pieces of metal that you simply screw down to the backplate that comes on the motherboard. And then this simply screws onto that. The whole thing installs in 5 minutes flat. It is one of the best installation mounts in the business. I have used a lot of really cheap, bad coolers that are a pain to install. You may have seen some of those during the build videos on my channel. Some of the older Cooler Master coolers are budget-oriented and they're a good value, but the mounting systems are awful. And I had one that I took over 20 minutes just to get the thing installed. It was a very huge level of frustration. This is the biggest ease and breeze in the world. It is so easy to install. Noctua got that right. Noctua also provides several excellent accessories with their coolers that most other cooler companies don't provide. First things first, you take the fans off to install it, and then it simply mounts to those 2 metal plates I mentioned before. But if you don't have a long screwdriver, they provide one. This provides a very easy way to reach down the sides and screw it onto your motherboard. And not very many coolers come with a long, skinny screwdriver to do that with. Thermal paste. It's not pre-applied paste. They provide you a tube of their premium performance paste, which has multiple applications in it. So if you want to install it, remove it, upgrade, you don't have to go out and spend $7 or $8 and buy a nice tube of thermal paste. This is a Y adapter to allow you to connect the 2 separate fans, the one on the front and the back, to a single port on your motherboard. Now, ideally, you'd have 2 ports on your motherboard, especially if you're buying a premium cooler, but if you don't by chance, they do provide a splitter, and of course, they are PWM fans. Low noise adapters. These are wonderful. I mentioned earlier in the video that these spin at a maximum of 2,000 RPM. Now, they don't generally do that when you're in games, and you may leave them off if you want the best possible cooling performance while you're gaming. But if you're doing video encoding, for example, or something that's using all of the cores of your CPU, it's not silent under full load. And I'll show you that here in a minute at the 8064 stress test. At 2,000 RPM, these fans get a little bit noisy, quite a bit noisier than maximum on the Noctua NH-U12A. These 2 low noise adapters connect between the 2 fans and the motherboard, and they slow your fans down to a maximum of 1,700 RPM, and all the bad noise goes away. It's not quite Be Quiet levels of quiet. Be Quiet, frankly, does an awesome job making silent coolers, but it's close. If you like the low noise of Be Quiet coolers, but the high performance of Noctua, install the low noise adapters. I did test both ways. I will show you that here in a second. It does not make a big difference between 1,700 and 2,000 RPM, but boy, to your ears, it definitely does. And when I actually use this, I will have the low noise adapters installed in everything that I do, because it is a minor trivial temperature difference, but it is a big noise difference. 2 more things before we get to the footage of the noise and the temperature and everything else. Number 1, All the links to all of these products will be down in the video description below to Amazon and Newegg. If you found this video helpful, useful, and informative and you want to support the channel, use those links when shopping. They are affiliate links, no extra cost to you. It definitely helps us out and is appreciated. Number two, when you see the footage of this Wraith Prism cooler howling and making horrible noise, I want you to keep 2 points in mind. Number one, I was standing at the same distance from this cooler as I was from the Noctua cooler. Number two, this is not defective. I've had several people comment to me when I complained about the noise of this thing saying, oh, well, your Wraith Prism must be defective, something's wrong with it. Well, not exactly, because I have 5 of them. 2 of them are currently installed in other PCs at the moment. These are both Wraith Prisms as well. They've both been installed in machines. They're all loud, or I hate loud noises, one of the two. So I know this isn't the problem, and when you hear the awful noise it's about to make, I can tell you, they all make that awful noise. They're terrible. Now, it's not as bad when it's installed in an enclosed case. I am fully aware of the fact these are open-air test benches and thus will be louder than when you build it into a case. However, if you're spending $500 on a Ryzen 9 3900X and $250 on a motherboard and however much for a video card, and you're building a $2,000 premium machine, do you want any noise in your computer? That's a personal preference. My wife, Rogue, currently has one of these installed on her streaming PC. It's a Ryzen 7 3700X. It's not terrible, but it's definitely audible. And she has asked me to replace it because it is noisier than what used to be in there. And what used to be in there? This. This is a Wraith Spire cooler. And these are wonderful. These came with the Ryzen 7 1700 and the Ryzen 7 2700. These are much, much quieter than these. The 2700X comes with the Prism, and all the Ryzen 7 and Ryzen 9 chips in the 3rd gen come with the Prism. So these are much nicer, and if you have a 1700 or 2700, these are great. These, not so much. In fact, once I remove that from my wife's PC, none of our actual work PCs will have any Wraith Prisms in them because they're too noisy, at least to my ears, and to hers as well, because she complained. So, with that being said, let me show you all that footage. This is the footage of the Wraith Prism RGB cooler. I am going to be standing at the same spot on each of these tests. This is recorded with my iPhone XS Max using the camera's built-in microphone, so the microphone's at the same point that I'm at. It's not some fancy overhead mic 3 inches from the cooler. It's just me standing here filming it from a normal person distance. This is not a stress test. I'll show you that in a second. This is Shadow of the Tomb Raider, which I'll show you the footage so you can see the temps and the fan speed in just a second. But this is Shadow of the Tomb Raider being tested from a couple of feet away. This is AIDA64 stress testing running the CPU to its max, simulating a full load such as running Blender. Here's the actual footage of playing Shadow of the Tomb Raider using the stock cooler. You can see the CPU usage is not actually that high. We're only about 25 to 30% here because after all, we have 12 cores and 24 threads, and the Division 2 is pretty well optimized. Notice our temperature is running in the 65 to 70 C range. It obviously is going to go up and down depending upon what you're doing, but somewhere in there is going to be a typical use case. Do keep in mind that this is an open air test bench in a 72 degree Fahrenheit room, and so it probably has better cooling here than your typical closed case configuration would. Something to keep in mind if you're using a poor airflow case. On AIDA64 stress testing, we had an average of 87.5 degrees Celsius on the CPU after running it for a while. Again, that's in a fairly cool room with an open air test bench. The fan was running at 3,000 RPM, and yeah, it was loud. Noctua NH-U12A noise testing, Shadow of the Tomb Raider with full speed fans. Again, Shadow of the Tomb Raider, but this time with the low noise adapters installed. In fact, I'm much closer to the test bench this time, and if you look on the right, you'll see both of the adapters plugged in. AIDA64 stress testing without the low noise adapters. Finally, AIDA64 stress testing with the low noise adapters this time, and boy, what a difference does that make. This is the Division 2 side-by-side showing you full speed fans on the left versus using the low noise adapters on the right. Both of these are the Noctua NH-U12A, and yes, using the low noise adapters does result in a slightly higher temperature. Across my playtime, across my experimentation with this cooler, there certainly is a couple of degree temperature warmer difference with using the adapters. But of course it is, because the max fan speed is lower. Not just the max fan speed, but the general operating run speed when you're just using the cooler. However, in my opinion, from a subjective point of view, I think it's worth it. It's something you can try, use them, don't use them, it's an option. But the noise floor goes down and the max noise level is a much nicer sound at 1700 RPM than it is at 2000. Side by side, AIDA64 stress testing. Left side is full speed fans, right side is the low noise adapters. The averages are what you want to look at because transient numbers move. Average 78 degrees C with full speed fans versus 82 degrees C with the low noise adapters. So it was 4 degrees C warmer for 300 RPM less on the fans, and in my opinion, a much nicer sound. Whether it's worth it to you or whether you care, try it. It comes with them. Use them. Don't use them. You have the option. First of all, thank you for watching all of that. If you're still here, a gold star for all of you. I do not do a ton of cooler tests on my channel. I've only done a few in the past, especially with this much detail and filmed footage of it, etc. I am genuinely interested to know what all of you think of this down in the comment section below. I don't reply to everybody down there, but I do read all the comments, at least for the first 4 or 5 days after a video publishes until a new one comes out. But I do read your comments, and I do greatly appreciate you leaving them. One of the comments I'm sure people are going to make is, you only tested this on the Ryzen 9. Why didn't you test it on the i9-9900K? Great question, glad you asked. There are 2 reasons that I did that. Number 1, and frankly the most honest reason in the world, time. Everything I do takes time. Would you like 1 cooler test on both platforms, or would you like 2 cooler tests on 1 platform? I have a new cooler with a much better mounting system coming up soon from Cooler Master. It's also the same price as this $100, big, fancy, RGB, and supposedly low noise, and a simple 2-screw installation just like this. Cooler Master has heeded our complaints with their lousy mounting systems, and they've dramatically changed it. So that's going to be coming up soon as well. So I can either take the same amount of time and test 2 coolers on 1, or I can do 1 cooler on 2. The second reason is simple. This is a good cooler. It is not as good of a cooler as the NHD15. And if you're going Intel and you're going 5 gigahertz and you're building a really expensive premium machine, I am not convinced that's enough cooler. Yes, I understand I haven't tested it, but based upon all of the various experience I do have across CPUs and coolers and everything else, I would be very hesitant to spend $100 on a cooler of that size if I'm building an i9-9900K. Noctua NH-D15, A+, does a great job, very happy with it. Be Quiet, Dark Rock Pro 4 does an awesome job, wonderful. I've had that over here. I don't use it for my testing, but I have one over on the shelf. And then, of course, liquid coolers. A 280 or 360 millimeter liquid cooler would do a wonderful job with this as well. This is what bothers me about the price. For the price, I would expect better performance. I would love to see this a little bit less expensive, and if it didn't cost so much, I'd be jumping up and down screaming, this is an amazing deal. But at $100, it's just okay in terms of value for the money. You're paying a premium to get Noctua quality, the Noctua accessories, to get low noise with the low noise adapters, to get a ridiculously easy installation, and probably as good a cooling performance as you're ever going to get in the square that fits. Like this video if you like it, share it with your friends if you love it. Remember to subscribe to my channel with the big huge red button directly below. Questions, comments, thoughts, feedback, suggestions, you know where the comment section is. Smash that bell notification icon next to the subscribe button. If you don't hit it, you will not get notifications of when my videos come out, and that would be greatly appreciated. Please consider hitting the join button next to it to directly support the channel. If you're not able to use the affiliate links down in the video description below when you shop, I understand. Some of you don't live in the United States, fair enough. Then by joining the channel directly, you can directly support the channel. You get access to the Tech Deals emoji here, a loyalty badge and comments on live streams, and access to all the private channels on the Tech Deals Discord. You can get almost all of those benefits. Okay, you can get the Discord benefits by supporting us on Patreon for $2 per month. That link is down below as well. Or on Floatplane to get early access to videos. This particular video will have been up for at least a week on Floatplane before it publishes to YouTube. So if you're watching on YouTube, hi, thank you for being here. But if you're watching this on Floatplane, thank you so much for your support. It is greatly, tremendously appreciated. And with that being said, I will see all of you in the next video.